So I know I said in the last video that that was probably going to be the last one, but surprise, surprise, I found some issues. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is I said I would add pagination to the main feed, and what that means is basically you don't add all the list items at once. You kind of gradually do it as the user either scrolls down or, so basically as they scroll down. So if you try and load them all and there's a ton of photos, like 100 or even thousands of photos, obviously that's going to slow down the app like crazy. So what you want to do is maybe add 10 to begin with, and then as the user scrolls to the bottom of the list, 10 more will get added, and 10 more, and 10, and so on and so on. So that's what we're going to be mainly doing in this video here. And I also found a bug. So if I go to the profile and I try to sign out, it doesn't sign me out. It tries to, and it does some weird thing, and that has to do with when we change the ID of the view pager. So if we go, remember we changed the ID of our view pager. I believe it was in layout center view pager. We changed it to view pager container, and we didn't change the ID in a bunch of activities. So number one is going to be, let's fix that. So let's begin by going to, which one? I guess it will be account settings activity. And right here is one of the places we need to change the view pager ID. And another place we need to change the view pager ID is in share activity. So go into share activity, and looks like I already changed it. I might have done that and forgot that I did. So if yours isn't changed, definitely change that one. And I'm just going to check in search activity really quick. There isn't one there. And so I think that should be it for that issue. And one more thing before we add pagination to our list view is in Instagram, it actually shows the user who logged in, the user who's logged in, it shows their posts on the main feed also. So we need to add functionality for that for us. So let's go into home fragment here, and we're going to scroll down to the get following method. So scroll down, you could just search it for get following. Oh, it's right here. And when we add all of the users that we're following to the list, we also want to add our own ID. So we can just do mfollowing.add and do firebase auth, get instance, get current user, and get the user ID, and add our own ID to the list. That way our photos are also going to display in that list view. Okay, so that's all the issues fixed. So let's rerun this, and I'm going to try and sign out and then make sure all that's working, and then we're going to add pagination to the list view. Okay, so here we have the main feed open here. I'm going to scroll using my finger because scrolling on the emulator with the mouse is kind of bad. So that looks good. Actually, one thing I noticed, the descriptions are all the same. So that's another bug we're going to need to fix. Let's test the sign out really quick though. So go to sign out, and that looks good. Okay, that's great. So now I'm just going to sign back in just with Mitch at Tabian.ca and do password of password. Oh, I remember. I disabled the sign in method so that you guys didn't take my source code and sign into my Firebase console. So I'm just going to re-enable the sign in method, hit save, and now try and log in again. Should log me in. There we go. Cool. So this description, that's actually the default text that's in the layout, so I probably just didn't even set it. So let's go to our main feed list adapter, and we have setting, probably not the caption. Let's see, let's look for the caption. Let's look for holder.caption. I'm just going to copy that and search for it. And that's the only place it is. Yeah, so I never even actually set the caption. So let's just go down here, set the caption, and do holder.caption, set text, and we need to get item, get the position, and then get the caption. And that should do it. And that could potentially throw, I can't remember if I checked in share, I think I did check in share activity, so you can't upload a blank caption. So that should be fine. There should be no potential for a null pointer there. Let's rerun that and see if we're getting our correct captions. Okay, once again, I'm going to scroll with my finger. Yep, that caption's right. That one's right. And that's good. Okay, so now we can move on to setting up pagination. So we're going to go into, we can close the, oh, actually, we're going to need to come back to this. So go into home fragment and go down into our display photos method. Wait, actually, we need to create some variables first. We're going to need to create some global variables. The first one is going to be an integer, and it's going to be called mResults. And the second one is going to be, I'm going to put it up by the other array list. this is going to be an array list for the paginated results. So there's going to be two lists, m paginated photos and then m photos. Photos is going to hold every single photo from all of the people that you're following and also your own. The paginated photos are going to be the ones that are added incrementally. So this is what's going to actually get passed to our ListView adapter, and then more items will get added to it gradually as the user scrolls to the bottom of the list and reaches the end of it. So let's go down back into, actually we need to go into, that's fine, get photos is fine, that's all good, we don't need to change anything. We're going to go down into display photos. And first of all, we need to instantiate our new array list. So paginated photos equals new array list. And if it's not null, I actually want to surround all this in a try catch and catch a couple exceptions. We're going to catch a null pointer, and then we're also going to catch an index out of bounds exception. Index out of bounds exception. And in these, we'll just do our regular log e and plus e.getMessage, and then I'm going to copy that line, didn't mean to cut it, and change it to null pointer. Okay, and then I'm going to put this over, kind of put this over everything here, and tab that in. Okay, so first I definitely want to pass the paginated photos from now on, and we need to create a new variable called iterations equals mPhotos.size, and if the size of the array, if the number of photos is greater than 10, because that's going to be our kind of threshold, then we're just going to do iterations equals to 10 just to start off, and then else, actually we don't need an else, that's all we need. So it's either going to be smaller than 10 or it's going to equal 10 for that first iteration. And then to move on, we do m results equals to 0, and then integer I equals 0. I is going to be less than the number of iterations, and then I plus plus. So once again, iterations is either going to be 10 or it's going to be less than 10 for our first initial setup here. And then we want to add all of the photos. So we want to add the first 10 photos, in other words, or we want to add less than 10 photos. If that's the case, then it gets added to the list view, and that's it. So that's going to be kind of the initial setup method for displaying the first initial photos. Now we need to write another method for when we want to display more photos. So we can go, actually we need to make this public because we're going to have to access it from the main feed list adapter, or actually it's going to be from the home activity, but we'll get to that in a sec here. So display more photos, and just do log displaying more photos, and once again we're going to do a try catch and catch those same exceptions because we're dealing with lists and there could be potential issues, just to catch those exceptions there. And so the first thing we want to check is if photos.size is going to be greater than our current results count, and we need to make sure photos.size is greater than 0, but I don't think I could ever get this far if it wasn't, but I'm just going to check anyway. So now we're going to create a new variable called iterations, and after that we need to check, so I guess now we're at the point where we need to check if we're in the same situation as we started. We need to know if there's more than 10 more photos, or if there's less than 10 more photos. So we can do photos, if photos.size is greater than m results plus 10, that means we have more than 10 more photos. So there are greater than 10 more photos. And if that's the case, we're in the same situation as when we started, and iterations will then be 10 more. So we just want to do iterations equals 10. So but then if we have less than 10 more photos, so there is less than 10 more photos, then we just want to get the remaining iterations. So iterations will be mPhotos.size minus whatever the current results count is. So m results. And I need a 10 here, not a 1. So let's just run through this logic really quick. So suppose you have 12 photos. So this method will run display photos, it'll get to this point right here, so iterations will equal 12, but if iterations is greater than 10, then iterations will get to 10. So paginated photos will get 10 of the photos added to it, and then it will get set to the adapter. So then the user scrolls to the bottom of the list, display more photos is going to get executed, and this logic will run. So if photos.size is greater than results plus 10, it wouldn't be, because that would be the photos.size is 12, results plus 10 would be 20. So this logic wouldn't run. This else statement would run, and so iterations would get set to photos.size minus results, which would be 2. So there'd only be 2 more iterations to run. So then we can add the new photos to the paginated results. So integer I equals 0, I is less than the amount of results plus the number of iterations. So this will be 12, right? Because that'll be 10, this would be 2, so you get 12. And actually, we don't want it to start at 0, we want it to start at 10. So it'd be iterating from 10 to 12. And then plus plus, and then we just do m-paginated photos, add our new photos. And that'll be good. Then we just need to go m-adapter, notify the data set has changed. So now we need a way to call this method. And we can either use an interface method that detects when the user scrolls to the bottom, but then we don't know what position they're at. So I'm going to actually just do it in the main feed list adapter. I'm going to create a custom interface. So let's go up to the top, and I'm going to create a new interface up here. So let's go public interface, I guess on load more items listener, and we're just going to have one method in here. It's not going to take anything, so just because it's just gonna its purpose is just to execute that method. So just do onload more items. Oh, my down arrow isn't working. I need to buy a new keyboard. So onload more items, and onload more items listener. And now we're going to go down to the bottom below on create view. So that's below on create view right here. And we need to create 2 methods. The first one is going to be for detecting when you've reached the end of the list. So reached end of list. Oops, and we need to do integer position, and we want to return position equals get count minus 1. And then below that we're going to create one more method, private void load more data, and it needs to check if the position was reached, that is the end. So, and we also need to catch our class cast exception for our interface, a class cast exception. My keyboard is getting worse every day. I just ordered a new one, so hopefully that comes soon. Funny story, actually. The first time I spent more than $100 on a keyboard, and it didn't last even a year. All my older ones lasted much longer, and they were only like 20 bucks. So that's kind of interesting. So we need to instantiate our listener, and what else we need to do? Now we need to call our method. So we're going to need another try catch, so I'm just going to copy this one, paste it here, and do a null pointer exception. And inside here we will do our onload more items. Now that we have all the methods we need, we can go into on create view, and we just need to test if we've reached the end of the list. So have we reached the end of the list, and then we pass the position of the adapter. And if we have reached the end of the list, then we just want to do our load more data method. And so we got one last step. We're going to implement this interface in main activity, or in home activity. So go into home activity and scroll up to the very top and implements on load more items listener, and I'm going to take that to the next line there, and then just wait for the red light bulb and click it, implement methods, get our on load more items. And I like to put all my interface methods at the very top, so I'm going to put that up here. And now we just need to execute that method. So we need to execute this display more photos method from our home activity. Okay, so log displaying more photos, and let's get our home fragment. Actually, I'll just call it fragment. Fragment equals typecast it to home fragment, and then get support fragment support fragment manager, and then we want to go find fragment by tag, but we can't do our regular finding the fragment by its tag, because usually when you do like a fragment transaction like this one right here, what you do to set the tag is I would just do a comma here and do, like, if I wanted to name this one view comments fragment, I would do view comments fragment, and then that would set the tag. But because the home fragment is actually set up through the view pager, it doesn't have a tag like that. It's a little different. There's actually a default way that Android assigns the tag. So you go Android switcher, whoops, there's a semicolon there. And then we reference the container, which is the view pager container, and then plus another colon, and we want to reference our view pager, and then get the current item. And that will reference its tag. And then now that we have that fragment, we can go if fragment does not equal null, which it won't be, then we can do fragment dot display more photos, and then that will display more of the photos. So that should be it. Hopefully we have no errors. I'm going to run it now, but we need to add more photos because currently none of the users have very many photos. So I'm just going to run it and see if it crashes really quick, and then when it doesn't, I'll start uploading a whole bunch more photos. So here we got the app. Doesn't look like it's crashing. I'm going to scroll to the very bottom. Looks like it's loading photos infinitely. It's so there's an issue. See, I'm scrolling to the bottom and it looks like it's not adding to the list. It's like just continuing to add more and more and more. Add the same ones over and over again. But it's working, so that's good. So let's figure out what's going on here. Okay, let's go into home fragment and check out our logic here. So I think this needs to be 10. So if it's greater than 10, yeah, because if it's less than 10, we don't want to do any more iterations, but if it's greater than 10, then we want to do more iterations, but we need to set the results equal to 10, so it's checked right here. So, okay, so that's fine. Then that logic should be good, but we never actually reset results count. So at the very bottom of this, we should do result. So that's why it's running over and over again, because results is never getting added. So results would equal results plus the number of iterations that we do. That way it will stop. Otherwise this loop could run infinitely, which is what we see happening. So let's try that. Okay, and let's scroll down, and it doesn't load a whole bunch. Okay, so that's good. So now I don't have enough photos in here to test. And is it loading my photos? Let's see. Yeah, I'm not following anybody. So first, I guess let's follow the other user. So I'm going to search Mitchell Tabian. Don't remember that one. There we go, Mitchell Tabian. So now I want to follow him. He only has one photo, so that won't really help. Let's go back to the main feed, and now I can actually see his photo. But so what I'll do is I'm just going to pause the video here, and I'm going to add a whole bunch of photos so that we can test this. Okay, so I got a bunch of photos here. So I think I got like 13 or something. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one upload. There was an upload error. What I did when I went to go upload it, so I say I'm uploading this, went to next. I hit share twice before it was ready. So that's definitely an error that I would address, but I'm not going to. So I'll leave that up to you guys. So what was my count? I don't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here's the magic number coming up. You can see we're reaching the end of the list, and when it goes to 10, it should load more. So there's 10, and you can see there the scroller on the right hand side. You can see that it got smaller and it loaded more items. So that's good. Our paging list view is definitely working as we expect, as we want it to. Okay, so that's all good. I just found another issue when I was just looking through the app. So because we're displaying our own content on the main feed now, if I navigate to my profile, it's now giving me the option to follow myself, which shouldn't happen. But this is a pretty easy fix. So we can just go into profile activity, and in the init method where we check for the extra calling activity, remember, if that extra exists, then we just navigate to the view profile fragment instead of the profile fragment. But additionally, what we can do is also say if the user that's attached isn't like my own user ID. So if the intent has extra, then we can do that, and we can write one more if statement here saying let's get that extra. So we can do intent dot get parsable extra, and then get string r.string dot intent user, because that will get that user object. So if that user object dot, I guess I need to actually get the user object first. So take this out of here. We're going to create a user object. So user equals new. Actually, we don't need to do new user. We can just do this. Set it to the parsable, and then if user dot get user ID, and my down arrow is almost not working at all now. If the intent dot get user ID dot equals Firebase auth get instance get current user get my own user ID. So if we want to go if it doesn't equal my user ID, then we want to go to the view profile fragment. Otherwise, we'll just do what we were doing before. So I'm going to need to actually copy this else statement and put it right there, and that should fix it. So let's rerun that and take a look. Okay, so here we have my main feed. I'm going to use my hand. Everything looks good. Still scrolling good. Okay, so let's go to Mitch's profile, which is the current user I'm logged in with, and there we go. It's fixed, so you can see that it's not giving me the option to follow this user, which is good. So we're good. I think we're good here. Let's scroll to the bottom and go to a different user's profile. So that'll be Mitchell.Tabian, and there we go. It's showing that I am following him. So that looks good. So I know a lot of you are probably going to be kind of upset that I'm ending without doing like messaging, without doing stories, and what else is there? There's notifications, push notifications. But this series is just getting too long. It's already almost at 100 episodes, and if I was to do all those things, it would easily get probably 50 more. Those are pretty big things to do, at least 40 anyway. And yeah, I really want to move on to something else. Everything we've done so far, if you wanted to do notifications, if you wanted to do messaging, everything is just extensions of what we've already done. So you can definitely figure it out on your own, and I might come back to this after a while and revisit it. But yeah, like I said, for now I just want to move on to something else and get kind of some different content on my channel, because I've been working on this clone for I think like 3 months now or something like that. So my next thing is going to be Google Maps. We're going to do an introductory course to Google Maps, kind of teach you everything you need to know to integrate your app with Google Maps, how to get locations, how to display certain locations on the map, how to get your own location, how to search for addresses, get latitudes, longitudes, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a really valuable course for sure, and of course it's going to be free. And then maybe after that I might do something like an Uber clone or something like that. So yeah, this is going to be probably the end, unless I decide to revisit it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.